I've never seen her, never met her, never talked to her. I wouldn't know her if she was standing beside of me.
Your DNA was on her body. It is evidence that does not lie. What we're saying, Mr. McCurley, is that your DNA was found on Carla Walker. Okay? So there's no question about it. Can you tell us what happened?
How did you kill her?
I just choked her.
You've been holding on to that for a long time.
Imagine a night filled with laughter, romance, and teenage dreams, suddenly turning into terror that would haunt a family for nearly half a century. That's exactly what happened on February 17, 1974 in Fort Worth, Texas. A night that would leave 17-year-old Carla Walker missing and change the lives of everyone who loved her forever. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by cold cases, justice delayed but never denied, and stories that prove hope can prevail against unimaginable odds, subscribe to Fearful Crime now and hit the bell icon, because the story you're about to hear is chilling, unforgettable, and absolutely true. A perfect night turns dark. Carla Walker was more than just a typical teenager. She was bright, ambitious, and adored by her friends and family. Her older brother, Jim Walker, recalls the love and warmth that radiated from his sister. On Valentine's Day that year, Carla went on a date with her high school sweetheart, Rodney McCoy, who had been planning a special surprise for months. Rodney carried a promise ring, a small rose with a diamond in the middle, a symbol of his commitment to Carla and their future together. He gave it to her that night, and her radiant smile lit up the room. They danced, laughed, and celebrated young love at the school dance with friends, thinking nothing could touch their happiness. After the dance, they sought a moment alone, a private spot to continue the magic of the evening. But fate had something horrifying in store. As they sat together in Rodney's car, an unknown assailant approached. The door slammed open, and in the shadows, a figure held a pistol. Before Rodney could even react, he was struck in the face with the butt of the gun, collapsing helplessly to the ground. Carla, terrified yet brave, did something no one expected. She stepped forward. She offered to go with the attacker if he would stop harming Rodney. Her courage was instinctive, selfless, and heartbreaking. A brother's nightmare begins. Meanwhile, at the Walker home, 12-year-old Jim Walker was awakened by a terrifying sound, the screeching of tires in the front yard. He ran to the window and saw Rodney staggering across the lawn covered in blood, trying to explain that Carla was gone. His sister had been stolen. The family rushed outside, disbelief and fear flooding their hearts. In a single night, their world had been shattered. Carla, the center of their family's love, had vanished, leaving only a trail of fear, anger, and questions. For Jim, the image of that night, Rodney bleeding, his sister gone, the horror of helplessness, would never leave him. It became a driving force, a mission he would carry for decades. The immediate aftermath. The next morning, police, FBI agents, and sheriff's staff descended on the Walker home. At first, suspicion fell on Rodney, the only witness who had been present when Carla was taken. The community whispered, classmates gossiped, and even family friends questioned his involvement. Yet the Walkers trusted Rodney completely, letting him stay in their home, even sleeping in Carla's bed, because they knew his love for their daughter was genuine. Despite exhaustive searches, days turned into weeks, and Carla's fate remained unknown. It wasn't until detectives recalled a similar case from a year prior, a missing girl found in a cattle culvert, that investigators began focusing on the underground tunnels and culverts surrounding Fort Worth. What they discovered would forever mark this night as the beginning of a decades-long battle for justice, a battle that Jim Walker would carry alone for nearly half a century. When hope fades, obsession takes its place, and for one young boy it would drive him to the edge of despair, determination, and a decades-long pursuit of justice. The night Carla Walker disappeared left the Walker family in shock, but the next morning the full weight of fear and uncertainty settled over them like a heavy, suffocating cloud. The police, FBI agents, and sheriff's staff flooded their home, setting up search operations. At first, the obvious suspect was Rodney McCoy, Carla's devoted boyfriend. He had been present during the abduction, and suspicion fell on him almost immediately. But the Walkers knew the truth. They trusted Rodney implicitly. He stayed in their home, sleeping in Carla's bed while detectives questioned him relentlessly. The family's faith in him never wavered. Yet outside, whispers grew. Neighbors and classmates looked at him with suspicion. Rumors spread like wildfire. Even at just 12 years old, Jim Walker could feel the tension in the air. The world seemed to doubt the one person who loved his sister as much as they did. The terrible discovery. 3 days of frantic searching led to unspeakable tragedy. One of the detectives remembered a similar case from the previous year. A girl named Becky Martin had gone missing and was found in a cattle culvert on the outskirts of Fort Worth. Acting on this hunch, search parties scoured the underground tunnels scattered across the countryside. Then came the scream that would haunt Jim forever. His mother's blood-curdling cry echoed through the culvert. Carla's body had been found. The realization hit like a hammer. The sister he adored, the girl he looked up to, the young woman who had smiled so brightly just days ago. She was gone. Carla's murder shocked Fort Worth to its core. The funeral drew over 1,000 members of the community, all grieving a life cut tragically short. Rodney, still a target of suspicion in the public eye, attended with the Walkers, his own grief mirrored in their faces. At Carla's casket, he realized the promise ring he had given her was missing, a haunting symbol of innocence lost, a mystery that would linger for decades, the seed of obsession. For Jim, this was not just grief, it was rage, obsession, and determination. At 12 years old, he couldn't make sense of the world. While everyone else around him struggled with sorrow, he felt a need for action. He began returning to the culvert where Carla's body had been discovered, sleeping there at night hoping to catch a glimpse of her killer. "I wanted to see it," Jim recalls. "I wanted to understand, to experience what my sister had gone through, what she saw, what she felt. It was cold, but I needed to know." At the same time, he dreamed of justice. He applied to the police academy as soon as he was old enough, ready to chase down Carla's killer himself. But life had other plans. A rare genetic condition was diagnosed, leaving him partially blind and forcing him to abandon his dream of becoming a detective. Decades of waiting. Years turned into decades. Jim's siblings moved away. His parents aged and eventually passed, leaving Jim as the last Walker in Fort Worth, carrying the pain and determination alone. Every year, he called the Fort Worth Police Department, asking for Carla's case to be reopened. Each time he was met with sympathy, bureaucracy, and frustration. "I said, ma'am, my heart bleeds for all 971 of your cold cases, but right now I only care about one," Jim said. "Whoever did this is either dead, dying, or running out of daylight. I want the truth." Finally, a breakthrough came. Detective Leah Wagner, a mother herself, took Jim's call seriously. She felt the urgency, the desperation, and the decades of injustice. Her resolve matched Jim's determination. With fresh eyes and modern forensic technology, she decided to reopen Carla's case. And just like that, 46 years of waiting, suffering, and obsession were about to meet the possibility of answers. Sometimes justice isn't about speed. It's about persistence, patience, and the quiet work of modern science. And for one killer, it would take nearly half a century to catch up with him. Detective Leah Wagner knew the stakes the moment she took Jim Walker's call. A mother herself, she could feel the pain of losing a child in the way Carla's parents had. Every detail of the 1974 investigation was carefully reviewed, from every piece of evidence collected. Carla's torn dress, the promise ring, to the full pistol magazine, to the witness statements, which had long left Rodney McCoy under suspicion. Wagner had something the original investigators didn't: modern DNA technology. In 2009, traces of DNA had already been collected from Carla's clothing, but at the time, they weren't sufficient to identify a suspect. Now, with advanced forensic techniques and Jim's unwavering persistence, she saw a path to justice that had been impossible decades ago: the fragile clues. The DNA sample was minuscule, just 5 nanograms. Any manipulation could destroy it. Still, Detective Wagner had hope. She knew that if the sample could be fully analyzed, it might reveal the killer's identity, something the family had waited decades to learn. Wagner sent the sample to a private laboratory south of Houston that specialized in extracting profiles from even the tiniest fragments of DNA. It was a gamble. The entire sample would be consumed, and success was far from guaranteed. Meanwhile, Jim Walker waited with the patience and anxiety that had defined his life since that fateful night in 1974. Every day brought the same questions. Who killed my sister? Could I finally see justice served? Would the killer be brought to account before more lives were harmed? Then, finally, the breakthrough came. The lab returned a DNA profile, a match to Glenn McCurley, a man who had been questioned in the original investigation and even passed a polygraph. For nearly 50 years, McCurley had lived in Fort Worth, just miles from the scene, quietly evading justice. Closing the net. Detective Wagner knew she couldn't risk anything. They had to build a watertight case. Officers began surveilling McCurley, discreetly collecting items that might contain his DNA. A discarded McDonald's straw was recovered and tested. The result? A perfect match to the DNA from Carla's clothing. Armed with this evidence, the police obtained a warrant for McCurley's arrest. On September 21, 2020, 77-year-old Glenn McCurley was taken into custody. For Jim Walker, the moment was overwhelming. Decades of grief, obsession, and unanswered questions finally converged. "We got him," Jim whispered into the phone to Rodney. Rodney, hearing the news, broke down in tears. The man who had once been a suspect and victim himself now shared in the vindication of the family he loved. The confrontation. During interrogation, McCurley initially tried to mislead investigators, giving vague directions about Carla's body that were false. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Years of hiding, decades of evading the law, all collapsed under the weight of modern forensic science. Jim, now a man hardened by loss but tempered by wisdom, didn't seek revenge. His focus had shifted to truth and peace. He even showed compassion toward McCurley's son, Roddy, recognizing him as another victim of the killer's sins. This humanity added a powerful emotional layer to a story defined by tragedy. Justice at last. On August 19, 2021, nearly 47 years after Carla's murder, McCurley's trial began. The weight of decades of investigation, heartbreak, and hope culminated in the courtroom. Within days, McCurley changed his plea to guilty, and the judge sentenced him to life in prison. The victory wasn't just about one killer behind bars. It was about hope, persistence, and the power of science to rewrite history. Carla's family, Rodney, and even members of the McCurley family found a path toward closure. Jim Walker's decades-long quest had finally borne fruit. Carla's memory, once overshadowed by fear and loss, now stood as a symbol of resilience and the relentless pursuit of justice. Justice delayed may feel like hope denied, but sometimes it comes in ways that change lives forever, not just for victims but for everyone touched by their story. For Jim Walker, the moment Glenn McCurley was convicted wasn't just about punishment. It was about closure, peace, and finally honoring his sister's memory. After 46 years of grief, obsession, and unanswered questions, he could breathe. He could remember Carla not only as a victim, but as the vibrant, courageous teenager she had always been. Even Rodney McCoy, Carla's high school sweetheart who had once been falsely suspected, found healing. He returned to Fort Worth, confronting decades of pain and guilt. Together with Jim, he formed a bond of shared grief and resilience, showing the power of forgiveness and understanding even in the darkest circumstances, a new kind of courage. Jim's compassion extended beyond his own family. He reached out to Roddy McCurley, Glenn's son, recognizing him as another victim of circumstance, a man born into the shadow of his father's crimes. The moment they met in the courtroom was quiet but profound. "I'm not here for revenge," Jim told him. "You do not own this. This is not your responsibility." Roddy, initially skeptical and heartbroken, was surprised by Jim's humanity. Here was someone who had every reason to hate him. Yet instead, Jim offered comfort, empathy, and connection. This simple act of grace became a defining moment, showing viewers that justice and healing are not always about anger or vengeance, but about restoring humanity wherever possible. The broader impact. Carla Walker's case didn't just end with Glenn McCurley behind bars. Her story has inspired legislation and resources to solve cold cases nationwide. The Carla Walker Act, championed by Texas Senator John Cornyn, aims to fund advanced forensic technology to help bring justice to families whose cases have remained unsolved for decades. By advancing DNA technology and forensic genealogy, Carla's tragic story is now helping prevent future tragedies. Each cold case solved becomes a statement that even after decades, science, persistence, and human determination can bring criminals to account. A legacy of hope. For Jim, the journey has been long and painful, but it has also been transformative. He remains close friends with Rodney and Roddy McCurley, showing that even in the wake of horror, love, empathy, and resilience can prevail. We lost Carla, Jim says, but because of what happened to her, we can take a lot of bad people off the streets. That's our goal now, to help other families like ours. The story of Carla Walker is a chilling reminder of how one life lost can ignite change, inspire justice, and teach the world about perseverance. It's a testament to hope that even in the darkest times, courage, science, and compassion can restore balance to a broken world. Closing call to action for viewers. If Carla's story moved you, if Jim's decades-long fight for justice inspired you, then subscribe to Fearful Crime. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a true crime story that uncovers the hidden truths, the shocking twists, and the relentless pursuit of justice. And remember, justice may be delayed, but it can never be denied. Share this story, honor Carla's memory, and help others see the power of hope, persistence, and the human spirit.